Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Dragonite, and welcome back to Angels with Scaly Wings. Everybody's good ending has been seen, but there is still more. I know that there is an ultimate ending. I'm not entirely clear on how to get there. I wonder if there's going to be something new that pops up at the beginning, now that I've seen everybody's good endings. Enlightenment. That is a new title card. I will be on the lookout for new stuff. Especially the whatever is left to do with the sphere. I want to know. Who is that dragon, by the way? Was that Vara's mom, the frilly one? I think it might have been. Me with Emera? That wasn't there before. Okay, not sure exactly what I feel about that, but we'll do it just for completion's sake. All I think I did this time was like go through all her dialogue options, interrogating her in the park, instead of just like skipping through it. I guess that's all I had to do to open up that. I don't remember if that was there before. So this should be the right place. Alright, come on in. There goes nothing. Oh, good lord, she really is Dolores Umbridge. How many times have I made that joke? What a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect you to take me up on my offer. I'm sure you are a very busy person. Sure, let's go with that. I'm sorry I have to say this, but I won't have much time for you today. As edifying as your visit is no doubt going to be, I have a meeting to attend shortly. However, I'm still grateful you came to visit. I'm sure someone of your standing is always busy. Thank you for taking your time to meet me. Let's see how impatiently I can narrate this. Charming as always, aren't you? So what exactly is this? An official meeting? A trade negotiation? Interrogation? Oh, please, this is just two people having a conversation. After all, we still owe you for the PDA devices you gave us. So, until we deliver our part, there's nothing to negotiate. Okay. If it was up to me, though, I'd rather listen to you all day than having to work through this stack of paperwork. Is it really that boring? Sometimes. It's just an unpleasant part of the job, I suppose. In the end, working as the Minister of Culture and Arts involves just as much paperwork as any other bureaucratic position. On some days, I have to keep reminding myself that there are actual people and problems behind those numbers, and those are the people I'm responsible for. One mistake, and those people turn against you faster than something that is very fast. That's why I prefer to go where the people are, rather than being stuck back here. It makes things much clearer than an abstraction of words and numbers. Is that what you do? Is that what this is for you? A game, or a popularity contest or something? I may use the law, stupid, but I don't break it. As much as I may dislike it, a game is certainly what this is. When I came into office, it didn't take me long to realize that you can't win if you don't play. You're not helping your case here, Emera. Let me ask you one thing, stupid. Do you enjoy your work as an ambassador? Work doesn't have to be enjoyable. Well, except for dealing with Emera, realistically, I do, so... Lucky are those whose purpose is enjoyable. Too bad that is not all of us. That doesn't make it sound like you enjoy your job very much. Well, I look at it this way. Just one term of having been on the council and I'll have left my mark. One term of being stuck behind a desk with my paperwork, at least I get to do something where I can make a difference, even if it won't happen very often. Culture and arts doesn't exactly give me much room for doing what I want to do, you know. So I'm hearing one story from Emera and one very different story about Emera from basically everyone else in this game who isn't Emera. Still, I prefer stacks of papers and meetings to working in a mine or pulling carts or logs or whatever else they would have us Earth Dragons typically do. When I look at those who have to do hard manual labor, I can't help but feel empathy towards them. I'm impressed by their tenacity in work conditions that I would never want to do. I wish to help them. What about those who enjoy that kind of work? Sure, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those like myself who are just not cut out for that kind of job. Being in charge of your visit in this world, however, it does have quite an opportunity. Was it just that, an opportunity? Of course not. I have been a staunch believer in humanism for a long time. Humanism. The belief in humans and their contribution to our existence. Okay. Some people say I only took this matter into my own hands as just another publicity stunt, but I can assure you my feelings on the matter were genuine regardless. What, like matter, hands, Earth Dragon? What's the pun? I don't follow. I would argue that making it a public spectacle only confirms my position on the matter. In the end, I don't have any hard feelings because I know the critics are only another part of the job I have to deal with. You should see how quickly they are to jump at my throat and second-guess my every decision I've ever made. How ironic it is for people like that to have to perform when they can spout their opinions when I'm the one making all the hard decisions. It doesn't matter, though. I know that I will never please everyone, but my numbers do speak for themselves in the end. It is just a great self-sacrifice to make a difference. Is that why you became a politician? I'd like to think it was all preordained. My parents were the vehicle so I could get this far. That reminds me of this book that I've seen. It was called Born to Serve, I think. How very perceptive of you. Indeed, I happen to have quite a fondness for it, since Abaddon's experience is not unlike my own. I always knew I was destined for greatness, just like my parents before me. However, when they thought I would need to work hard like them to get there, that's where they were mistaken. I grew up as an only child in a village mostly known for its mining industry. My father was a very business-minded individual. He worked hard to provide for us and advance his career, whereas my mother was more of a spiritual person. After years of serving up, they combined their interests and created new businesses out of nothing, and a gamble that paid off handsomely. I did what it was expected of me. I studied and worked hard until I came to resent it. By that point, I was at a crossroads in regards to my future. My parents wanted me to continue my studies, but I decided against doing that. Studying and working hard so that I may study and work hard ad infinitum wasn't something that was particularly appealing to me. In the end, I didn't see a difference between working hard in the mind and studying perpetually. Instead, I started looking for alternative options. There was an opening for a political position, and I decided to seize the opportunity and applied for it. At the time, I wasn't sure whether to be surprised by the fact that I got the position, but if I look back at it now, I certainly shouldn't have been. I was very qualified for the job, but I have a feeling that my parents might have persuaded those in power, because they knew this was another step up for our family. Persuaded them. This is only speculation, of course, but I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that, no matter if it was with words, gifts, or something else. How has that worked out for you? Now that I'm here, the stacks of books have merely been replaced by stacks of paperwork. At least I'm popular, though. Are you really? I know I'm polarizing, but why try to please everyone and accomplish nothing when it's impossible to please everyone in the first place? It's a departure from the ways of thinking, and while not liked by everyone, some of my moves have been lauded by the great majority. My strategy is to take risks that may or may not pay off when I know I have nothing to lose, rather than playing it safe and just perpetuating the status quo. You have nothing to lose. I am not afraid of political suicide because I don't have value of the position itself. I only value the opportunities I'm given while having this power, so as long as I have it, I shall use it until I can no longer do so. My approach has been called daring or brave or opportunistic just as much as it has been derided by others who don't like what I'm doing. I'm not sure if this will start a trend or if there will be others who will follow suit, but either way I'm glad once my term is over. What are you going to do then? People who have been on the council usually don't have trouble finding a job of their liking, but I wouldn't need to do even that. I'm settled for life and I could retire now if I wanted to. Retire? Is that what you'd like to do? I already feel like I have left my mark and seen everything there is to see in the political landscape, so once this is over, I'd like to settle down for good and start a family. Really? I'm an only child. My parents wanted me to make them some grandchildren and to continue the lineage. So all the responsibility rests on me now that I've proved my worth. Is that what you'd like to do as well? In this case, I'd have to agree with them. Frankly, I'm tired of all the work, more so than before. Besides, it would be a shame if everything they built, to let everything they built go to waste, wouldn't you think? What's that supposed to mean? I'm talking about our family fortune, of course. And what would a family fortune be without a family? Yeah. The funny thing is, they were never like this when I was growing up. It was only after they'd made it big that they started getting all self-important about it, illusions of grandeur included. Now that I'm getting older, I'm sad to say this is not exactly getting easier. I probably would have had better chances if I'd started a family first and tried to have a career afterwards. Why is that? Being known like I am has made me popular, but it's making things complicated on the relationship front. You don't say. On the one hand, there are those that immediately disregard me due to my public image or my politics. On the other hand, there are those that are only interested in me because of being well known. In a way, I'm being evaluated before I even have a chance of getting to know someone, or before they even get to know the person behind the politics. In which case I'd say they're not missing out on too much. if I must be honest. No matter if positive or negative, these judgments create a sort of proto-relationship that I have no input in and causes them to have certain expectations or opinions about me. For better or for worse, the opinions based on the policy are not too far off the mark for, like, more personal things, in this case. This is where I start looking at my watch and seeing if I can make an excuse to start getting going now, I think. I suppose you can't change someone's mind if they've already made it up. Oh, you can. It's just not an easy thing to do. Not that dating isn't already complicated enough as it is. Maybe it'll be easier for me. Maybe it'll be easier once your term is over. People may not recognize you as much. Maybe. It also doesn't help that there is a rather limited selection of prospective fathers in this town. I didn't even consider that. Maybe I'll return to my hometown once the term is over. Can I ask you something? You've already asked me a lot of things since you came here. I'm sure one more won't hurt. Can I go now? Why did you employ Remy? You see, politics is a rather unusual field here. As a pursuit that mostly requires intellectual ability, it is often very open to members of any kind and every species who wishes to apply to such an office. That is the most politician answer I've ever heard. However, the council members themselves are responsible for the workers they employ to help with their office's duties, and that is an area where certain standards and prejudices already start to seep in. The council members either employ members of their own species or they pick members of a species that is stereotypically used in that area. Shortly after I came into office, I was faced with the question of who to employ to take care of the archives. I didn't really know of a suitable candidate that I wished to employ off the top of my head, so I had to make do with the applicants I received. They were numerous. Among them was a number of hopefuls from my hometown who had now banked on the idea that I would employ someone I already knew, or of my own species. I could have hired one of them, but I had to realize that this decision, my first in the office, was already under scrutiny. It certainly would have been very unusual to hire an Earth Dragon to take care of the archives, but I was sure it would have been looked at from a certain angle with a certain bias. They would have claimed that I only employed another Earth Dragon because they belonged to the same species or came from the same town as me. And you've said that several times now. They wouldn't have even considered that I made the decision based on merit. With the same biased thinking being present in the applicants, it would have been hard to find anyone among them who was actually suited for the position of working in the archives. Typically, the position is held by a species with proper hands, as it is often necessary to handle small and precious objects in the archives, but since I typically don't do things that way, that's a telephone. Emerald, you'd better start wrapping it up, because that was Mom, and she said that she's going to need to route to the airport, so I'm going to have to go. Typically the position is held by a species with proper hands, as it is often necessary to handle small and precious objects in the archives. But since I typically don't do things that way, I wanted to do something different. As I sorted out applicants that only seemed to want to be there to advance their career or have something important to put on the resume, the remaining number was actually fairly small. Remy was the one that stood out to me from the rest. I wondered about his rationale to even apply for the position, given that it was unheard of for a member of his species to be a caretaker of the archives. Either way, he was incredibly naive, or he knew that his chances were practically nil, but was willing to try regardless. I was curious to find out when I invited him for a job interview. Okay, that's great, but you can also, like, stop doing things like making fun of his ears at every possible opportunity, just saying. He seemed genuinely enthusiastic and had a passion for the subject, qualities I was looking for. He also had a background that made him well qualified for the position, at least on paper. Ultimately, he reminded me of my parents and how they managed to break out of their mold and made it big by doing their own thing. I saw an opportunity that aligned with my own goals. Of course, there were also practical considerations, but I thought with time and practice and his tireless nature, any difficulties could be overcome. Maybe he could rise above his peers just like my parents did. I only gave him the same chance. I knew that I was making a gamble, but I thought with someone like him, it would pay off very well. Could pay off very well. Going against every recommendation, guidance, and advice I received, I ultimately decided to hire him, a decision that immediately made big headlines. It was the beginning of a trend that I think would give me the image I have now. There was a lot of coverage about it, and I think it gave Remy a lot more attention than he wanted. That might have been a good thing if he did his job well, but this didn't turn out to be the case. The first time he messed up, I made a joke about it and told him that this happens to everyone a few times. If only it had stayed at just a few times. Soon enough, my decision made more headlines from my cynical critics who lambasted me, citing his shortcomings as evidence. Of course, I couldn't go easy on him during that time. He wanted the job, so I held him to the standards of the job. If I treated him any differently, it would have only gotten worse. He might have to work twice as hard, but if he can't do the job, maybe he isn't cut out to do it. But if he can, he'll have proven his worth to the whole town. And also, that has nothing to do with why are you making fun of his ears at every given opportunity. I heard it wasn't working out so well for him. Tell me about it. It's one of my few decisions that haven't ended up working in my favor, even though many people were all in favor of it when it was initially announced. Why don't you just replace him? That wouldn't be such a good idea. For one, it would only prove to the people who it would only prove the people who doubt that I made the right choice, and secondly, it would only draw attention to the whole issue all over again. That's unfortunate. Luckily, I made enough headlines these days for it to not matter much anymore. Oh, I'm going to be late for my meeting if I don't hurry up. Thank God! Would you mind helping me with this? Yeah, but... horn shine. It's just some color for my horns. You're painting them. It's a public outing. Are you telling me you don't do things to make yourself look different? We do, I just didn't expect your horns to be one of those things. I see. Well, the brush is over there, so get it and get going. Am I getting paid for this? I walked over to the table where I saw the brush among a number of other tools I couldn't quite place and a few stacks of paper. She really hadn't been exaggerating when she mentioned her workload. Anything I need to know before I start? Not really. You know how a brush works, don't you? In theory. Just so you know, I'll blame you in front of the whole council if you mess it up. Obviously. Was there any doubt about that? I removed the cork from the glass bottle that was filled with red, somewhat viscous liquid. After dipping the brush into it, I started painting her horn in a bright red. It only took a few applications for the horn to be covered completely. Is that good? Oh, we're not done with yet. Don't forget my elbow and those on my neck. Okay. Here, that should do it. Let me take a look. It sucks and I hate it. She walked into a mirror and turned her head a few times so she could see herself from every angle. Not too shabby, stupid. Maybe you'd make a good assistant. God, no. Maybe. I'm a diplomat. I gotta behave myself. Anyway, how does that look? What do you think about the color? It looks like death, but now that you mention it. Okay, this is obviously the correct answer. They aren't naturally white either. Oh, really? Yes, but don't tell that to anyone. You know what? All that sitting around is making my back so horribly stiff. Would you mind giving me a massage? I certainly could use one right now. You're a real lifesaver, stupid. I know it's a strange request, but having to sit in this office for hours on end working through all these papers takes its toll on my body. You know, my kind tends to be very physical, and I haven't quite gotten used to this office lifestyle yet. Help! Help! What should I do? You can start at the neck and work your way down. Well, I don't know much about massaging an Earth Dragon. What kind of movements are we talking about here? Just put your palms on it and start rubbing it in circles, and don't hold back. I assure you, we Earth Dragons can take anything you dish out. Alright. Put my hands on her rather girthy neck as she did as she told me, rubbing my palms out in a circular motion. This is painful to read. I was about to ask her if I was doing it right when I heard her voice. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Just be careful around the spines. I think we both don't want this to end with an impaled hand. After she had mentioned them, I couldn't help but watch her spines a bit more closely while I continued with my ministrations. They seemed to be made from the same material as the horn on her muzzle. Even though they were not quite as girthy, they still started rather wide at the base, ultimately culminating in a point that didn't seem sharp enough to cause any damage by accident. Indeed. When I resumed my treatment, she suddenly bucked, her spines only missing me by inches when she suddenly threw her head up. But she wasn't kidding when she said watch out for the spines. Fearing a bit for my safety, I moved down to her shoulders. Your hands are wonderful, stupid. This is the worst timeline. Is that so? Mm-hmm. The incomparably soft skin on your hands. I'll take that as a compliment. It most certainly is. I moved further down her back, noticing the increasing roughness of the armor that covered her. Don't hold back now, stupid. Put your strength into it, or I won't even feel a thing. Following her guidance, I increased the pressure from my palms more and more. Harder! I gave it everything I could, and I kept going at her until I noticed the muscles beneath her armor softening noticeably. You know how to please, don't you? If I just, like, throw a note out the window that says, I need help, will anyone come to my rescue? By this point, I had moved down to her hips, giving them the same treatment as the rest of her body. Yes, that's the spot. Good. Good for you. Good for you. You know, you don't know what having to sit in an office all day does to my hips, stupid. Unrelentingly, I continued, vowing not to stop until every last knot in her muscle was gone. Don't stop now. Give it all you got. I went faster, tenderizing her rump like a steak. What? Her like a rump steak. Just like that. Yes. Yes. And with that, my treatment was done. Her hips now soft and supple as a jello-filled beanbag. We will never speak of this again. I'm really posting this video on YouTube, aren't I? If you were to open a massage parlor here, you would have no shortage of customers. No! No! Your hands are truly magical, stupid. They're a gift, don't waste it. I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, I should probably head off to my meeting, and I'm sure you have places to be, stupid. You could say that. Maybe I'll see you again. I'm sure of it. That is the thing that just happened. That I read out loud for the whole internet to hear. My name is Dragonite. I need to go bring my mom to the airport. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later.